Imagine this. You're living your ordinary life, then one rainy night, a woman knocks on your door, and she looks exactly like you. She calls you by a name no one else knows, and claims to be your twin sister. The only problem? You were told she died at birth. What if everything you believed about your family was a lie? What if she didn't come to reunite, but to replace you? This isn't just a story, it's a chilling journey through betrayal, buried secrets, and the terrifying question, can you trust someone who wears your face? Before we continue, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more stories like this. It was a cold, rainy Thursday night in October. The wind howled outside, and the rain tapped against the windows like tiny fingers. I had just finished my dinner, some leftover spaghetti and garlic bread, and curled up on the couch with a blanket. My cat, Muffin, was asleep beside me. Everything was calm, normal, until the doorbell rang. I jumped slightly. It was almost 10 p.m. Who would visit at this hour? I hesitated before getting up. Maybe it was a neighbor needing help. Or maybe a package was delivered by mistake. But when I opened the door, my entire world flipped. There she stood. A young woman, soaked from head to toe, water dripping from her long dark hair. Her eyes locked on mine, and for a second, I couldn't breathe. She looked just like me. Same eyes, same nose, same high cheekbones, same everything. It was like staring into a mirror. Except, her expression was cold, confident, almost angry. She smiled slowly, like someone who had waited a long time for this moment. "Hello, Lena," she said softly. Her voice was low, calm, but chilling. My heart pounded. How do you know my name?" She tilted her head. "Because it used to be mine too. Or at least, it should have been. But they gave it to you." I froze. Her words made no sense. "I think you have the wrong person," I whispered, stepping back. "No," she said firmly, stepping forward. "You know exactly who I am. Don't you, Leah?" That name hit me like a punch in the stomach. Leah. I hadn't heard that name in years. Not since I was little. Not since those nights when my mother would cry in her sleep and whisper it like a prayer. "Leah. Forgive me. Leah. I'm so sorry." But every time I asked about it, she said I was dreaming. The woman, no, the stranger, smirked. "I can see it in your face," she said. "You remember, don't you?" No. "You need to leave," I said quickly, trying to shut the door. But she stopped it with her hand. "I'm not here to hurt you," she said calmly. "I just want the truth. About who I am. About why I was left behind." "I don't know what you're talking about," I cried. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she pulled something out of her wet coat pocket and tossed it onto the floor. A tiny hospital bracelet. My hands trembled as I picked it up. It was old, faded, but the name printed on it was clear. Baby Girl Thompson. Twin B. I gasped. You're my twin," I whispered, my voice barely audible. She nodded slowly. "Yes. My name is Leah. And I'm the sister you never knew you had." I barely slept that night. The woman, Leah, as she called herself, left after giving me her number. "You'll want to talk soon," she said before disappearing into the rain. I sat on the couch for hours, clutching that tiny hospital bracelet. My mind raced. My heart was a mess of confusion, fear, and something else, something I didn't want to admit. Hope. Could it really be true? Did I have a twin? I needed answers. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I couldn't focus on anything else. I went straight to my mother's house. She lived just 15 minutes away, in the same cozy house where I grew up. The house where, apparently, lies had also lived. She was in the kitchen when I walked in, making tea. She smiled when she saw me. "Lena, you didn't call. Everything okay?" I sat down at the kitchen table and stared at her. She frowned. Sweetheart, what is it? I took a deep breath and placed the hospital bracelet on the table. Her face changed instantly. The color drained from her cheeks. Her hands shook as she slowly picked it up. Where did you get this? She whispered. She came to my house last night, I said. Her name is Leah. She says she's my twin. My mother's eyes filled with tears. It's not true, is it? I asked quietly. She didn't answer. She just sank into the chair across from me and covered her face with her hands. I waited. Minutes passed in silence before she finally spoke. I was young, she said softly. Just 21. I was scared, alone. Your father had just left. I didn't even know I was having twins until I was already in labor. I stared at her, not moving. You were born first. Then Leah. But, the doctors said, she didn't make it. Her voice broke. They wrapped her in a blanket and took her away. They told me she was gone. That she stopped breathing. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I asked to see her, to hold her, but they said it wasn't allowed, that it would just make it harder. I reached across the table and grabbed her hand. Mom, are you saying they lied to you? I don't know, she sobbed. Maybe. Or maybe someone took her. I don't know. But why never tell me? I asked. Why keep it a secret? She shook her head. I couldn't. It hurt too much. And I thought, what good would it do? You were healthy. You were here. And Leah was gone. Or so I thought. Her eyes met mine. I've lived with that grief every single day, Lena. I used to whisper her name in my sleep because I was afraid I'd forget it. I didn't want to lose every piece of her. My own tears fell now. She reached out and touched my face. If she's really alive, if she really came to you, then someone stole her from me. I sat back, stunned. A part of me had always known something was missing. That quiet name in the night. That sadness in Mom's eyes when she looked at old baby clothes. And now, it all made sense. But then Mom's expression turned serious. Lena, listen to me, she said, gripping my hand tightly. You need to be careful. Why? I asked, surprised. There's something about this that doesn't feel right, she said. If she really is Leah, then why now? Why come back after all these years? And how did she find you? I don't know, I whispered. Mom wiped her eyes and stood up. I want to meet her. I want to see her face myself. I'll call her, I said softly. But in my heart, I was afraid. Because while part of me wanted to believe in a long-lost sister, another part of me saw the look in Leah's eyes. And it wasn't love. It was something darker. Something dangerous. 2 days later, I met Leah again. We agreed to meet at a quiet coffee shop on the edge of town. I didn't tell my mom the exact location. Part of me didn't trust how she'd react. And another part didn't fully trust Leah either. She was already sitting by the window when I walked in. Her long hair was tied up in a ponytail, and she wore a simple black jacket. Still, she looked like me. It was strange, like staring into a slightly colder version of myself. She smiled when she saw me, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. I didn't think you'd come, she said. I needed to hear your story, I replied, sitting across from her. From the beginning. She leaned back in her chair and took a sip of coffee. Then she began. I was raised in the system. Group homes, foster care. You name it, I've been through it. I was passed around like furniture. Most families just wanted the monthly check. I winced. I'm so sorry. She shrugged. Don't be. I survived. That's more than I can say for some of the kids I met. Leah looked out the window. Her eyes were distant, as if she was looking at a world only she could see. Growing up, I didn't know I had a sister. Or a mother. My records were fake. Said I was abandoned at birth. No names, no family. I stayed silent, letting her talk. But one day, I found something in an old file. A nurse's note. It said, twin girls born. Thompson. One taken, one remained. That was the first time I ever heard the name Thompson. She pulled a photo out of her bag and handed it to me. It was old and slightly torn. A woman holding two newborns. Her hair was wild, her eyes tired, but happy. That's your mom, Leah said. Our mom. I nodded slowly. Yeah, that's her. She continued, her voice a little sharper now. After that, I started looking. I searched online for anyone named Thompson born the same day as me. There weren't many. But I found you. My throat tightened. You had everything, she said quietly. A home. A mother. Birthdays. Hugs. Love. I didn't know, I began. I'm not blaming you, she interrupted. I just wanted to understand. Why was I left behind? I looked into her eyes. My mom thought you died at birth. She said the hospital told her you didn't survive. Leah laughed bitterly. Figures. Someone lied. Someone took me. A silence fell between us. Do you hate her? I asked softly. Leah stared at her coffee cup. I don't know. I think I hated her for years. But now I just want to know who did this to us. I want answers. And maybe a chance to feel like I belong somewhere. My chest ached. You do belong. You're my sister. Her eyes met mine. Then help me find the truth. I nodded. I will. But deep inside, I wasn't sure if Leah was telling me everything. Later that night, I sat on my bed with a heavy heart. I couldn't sleep. Leah's words kept echoing in my mind. You had everything. I had nothing. Help me find the truth. I got up, walked down the hall, and opened the attic. Growing up, I had always been told not to go up there. Mom said it was just for storage, full of junk. But something told me I'd find more than dusty boxes. I climbed up, flashlight in hand. Cobwebs hung from the beams, and the smell of old paper and wood filled the air. I coughed, pushing aside a curtain of fabric to make room. I started opening boxes, one by one. Christmas decorations, old books, baby clothes. Then I found a wooden chest with a rusted lock. My heart pounded. I grabbed a screwdriver from the tool shelf and forced it open. Inside were baby items, 2 small onuses, both pink, a photo album, a hospital report, and tucked beneath all that, a folded letter. I unfolded it carefully. The paper was thin and yellowed with age. Dear Helen, you don't know me, but I was there the night you gave birth to your daughters. Something terrible happened. One of the babies was taken before you ever held her. They told you she died. But she didn't. I've kept this secret too long. I'm sorry. Nurse M. Peters. I stared at the letter, shaking. Leah was telling the truth. I looked through the album. There were 2 babies in several photos. Side by side. Wrapped in matching blankets. One labeled Baby A and the other Baby B. My heart broke. I picked up the onuses and held them to my chest. Why had my mother never told me she had those things? Had she forgotten? Or had she buried it, literally and emotionally? I brought the letter and photos to my mom's house the next morning. She sat in silence for a long time, staring at the letter in her hands. This woman. Peters, she was kind to me, Mom whispered. I remember her. She was the only one who talked to me when the others ignored me. Why would someone take Leah? I asked. She looked at me slowly. Your uncle, your father's brother, he worked at the hospital. What? I gasped. I didn't think about it then. But he came to visit me the day after you were born. He said he came to check on things. I thought it was just kindness." She trailed off, eyes wide with horror. "Mom, are you saying he could've?" "I don't know," she cried. "But what if he took Leah and gave her to someone else? Maybe for money." I felt sick. "Where is he now?" I asked. "He left town years ago. Moved to Florida or something. I haven't heard from him in years." I stared at the photos again. "Leah deserves to know all of this," I said. "She deserves the truth." Mom nodded slowly. "Yes, she does. But Lena, be careful. If someone was willing to steal a baby, they might be willing to do worse to hide it." Her words chilled me to the bone. After everything I discovered in the attic and my mother's shocking memory about my uncle, I couldn't stop thinking about Leah. I had to know more, not just about her past, but about the people who raised her. So I asked to meet again. We met at a quiet park this time. Leah sat on a bench under a tree, arms crossed, staring at children playing across the field. Her expression was hard, unreadable. "You brought it?" she asked as I sat down. I handed her the envelope with the nurse's letter and the baby photo. She read it slowly. Her hand trembled. When she looked up, her eyes were red. "So I wasn't crazy," she whispered. "All this time, all this pain, it wasn't for nothing." "I'm so sorry you had to go through this," I said gently. "But I want to understand what happened. Who raised you?" Her jaw tightened. "A woman named Cynthia Morgan took me in when I was 6. Her husband was Reed. They said they found me at an orphanage, but I don't remember being taken there. I just remember being dragged from place to place, like a lost item." She paused. "At first, I thought Cynthia loved me. She bought me clothes. She brushed my hair. She called me sweet girl. But that didn't last." I listened carefully, heart pounding. She was cold, distant. Everything had to be perfect. I had to smile in front of people, but behind closed doors, she hit me when I cried. She'd lock me in the laundry room for hours when I messed up. Reed never stopped her. He barely even looked at me. My hands clenched into fists. "Why didn't you run away?" I asked quietly. She laughed darkly. "I did. Twice. The first time, I was 8. I tried to tell a police officer. He brought me back. Said I was lying. The second time, I ended up in a shelter. They called Cynthia. She smiled when she picked me up. Then she burned my journal. Every page." Tears slipped from her eyes. She quickly wiped them away. "When I turned 16, I found a locked drawer in Reed's office. Inside was a file, old papers, an adoption form with my fake name. But what caught my eye was a medical paper. It had my birth date. And your last name. Thompson." "That's how you found me," I said softly. She nodded. "I memorized the name. Spent 2 years looking through school records, social media, until I saw a photo of you at a college event. You looked just like me." I didn't know what to say. "How did they get you in the first place?" I asked. She looked at me sharply. "That's what I want to find out." Because Cynthia had connections. She worked in a hospital once. Reed was friends with police officers. Someone helped them. And someone took me from the hospital that night. I thought of my uncle. "I think I might know who was behind it," I said slowly. "My uncle, my dad's brother. He worked at the hospital where we were born. My mom said he visited her after the birth. She never thought much of it, but now it makes sense." Leah's expression changed. "Find him," she said coldly. "I want to look him in the eyes." "I will," I promised. But just then, she leaned closer. Her voice dropped. "I want you to be honest with me, Lena. Are you scared of me? I hesitated. I don't know, I said truthfully. She smiled slowly. Good. That means you're paying attention. In the days that followed, things got strange. Leah started texting me more. A lot more. Every morning. Every night. She asked where I was going, who I was seeing. At first, I thought it was her way of bonding. But then, she showed up at my work. I was in the middle of reviewing a patient file when the receptionist knocked on my office door. There's someone here to see you, she said. I looked up. Who? The door opened before she could answer. Leah walked in, wearing a white blouse, dark slacks, and my name badge. My exact name badge. Hi, Lena, she said with a smirk. What are you doing here? I asked, standing up quickly. I just wanted to see what your world looked like. Your desk. Your chair. Your view. She turned in a slow circle. Nice office. My co-workers stared at us from the hallway, confused. One even whispered, "Is that your sister?" Leah laughed. Relax. I didn't hurt anyone. I just borrowed the badge you left on the table last night. I didn't leave it, I stopped. She must have come into my apartment. My stomach twisted. Leah, that's not okay, I said, trying to stay calm. You can't pretend to be me. Why not? She asked. You and I are the same. Remember? No. We're not, I said firmly. Her face darkened. I thought you wanted us to be sisters, she said quietly. But you don't, do you? I want to help you, I said. But this is too much. She stormed out without another word. That night, I checked my apartment locks. Twice. The next morning, my boss called me in. Lena, she said, frowning, you were acting strange yesterday. You walked right past me in the hallway and didn't say a word. I wasn't here yesterday, I said, confused. She looked surprised. That's odd. Someone using your badge logged in. I felt cold. I called Leah. Did you come back to my office yesterday? I asked. Silence. Leah. Then, laughter. You know what's funny, she said. You have my life, my mother, my name, and yet you still expect me to stay in the shadows. I'm trying to make this work, I said through clenched teeth. But you're crossing the line. Oh, sweetheart, she whispered. I haven't even started yet. I woke up to darkness. My body ached. My wrists were sore. My head throbbed as I slowly opened my eyes. I was in my car, parked somewhere deep in the woods. The keys were gone. My purse was missing. My phone? Nowhere in sight. I stumbled out of the driver's seat, barefoot, and looked around. Trees. Mud. Silence. Panic shot through my chest like ice. How did I get here? The last thing I remembered was making tea at home. Leah had stopped by. She brought pastries. We talked about our uncle. I sipped the tea. My legs gave way, and I sat on the ground. She drugged me. I forced myself to my feet and started walking. My feet were scraped. My clothes soaked in dew. After nearly an hour of walking and praying, I finally found a road. I flagged down a passing car. The driver, a kind older woman, stared at me in shock. Oh my God, are you hurt? What happened? I need to get home, I mumbled. Please, just drive me to 206 Holloway Lane. The woman nodded quickly and handed me a water bottle. Hold on, sweetheart. When we pulled into my driveway, something looked off. There were lights on. My curtains were open. Someone was inside. And then, I saw her. Standing in the window. Wearing my robe. Holding my cat. Smiling. Leah. I jumped out of the car and ran up the steps, banging on the door. She opened it calmly, holding a steaming mug of coffee. Lena, she said sweetly. Where have you been? Get out of my house, I growled. Her smile never faded. Your house? That's funny. Because when the police came by earlier, I told them my sister ran away. That you were unstable, depressed, maybe even suicidal. My hands shook. What the hell are you doing? I'm just taking back what's mine, she said softly. You got the good life. The love. The warmth. I got the pain. The silence. The cold. So now, we switch. I'm calling the police, I snapped. Go ahead, she said, stepping back. Let's see who they believe. The girl with the records? The face everyone's seen at your job? Or the barefoot woman who smells like dirt and can't prove where she's been? I froze. She knew exactly what she was doing. You're insane, I whispered. No, she said gently. I'm just done being invisible. She slammed the door in my face. For the first time in my life, I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't go home that night. I stayed with Daniel, my boyfriend, for the first time in weeks. He hadn't met Leah in person yet, but I'd told him everything. He stared at me, shocked, as I told him what she'd done. She what? He whispered. She took my clothes, my name, my house, my cat, I said. She's trying to take over my life. Have you gone to the police? I tried, I said. But she's smart. She accessed my files, my social media, even changed the passcode to my email. And now she's got fake papers saying she's me. Daniel paced the room. We'll figure this out. We'll expose her. But you need to be careful, Lena. If she's dangerous enough to drug you, who knows what else she'll do? I nodded. But inside, I was trembling. That night, I did something I hadn't done in years. I opened my father's old chest, hidden in the back of Daniel's closet. My father had passed away when I was 7. I remembered how he used to write everything down. Inside the chest was a thick folder labeled, Medical, 1998, the year we were born. I flipped through the pages. Birth certificates, blood tests, and then, a copy of a hospital log. One page stood out. Visitor name, John Thompson. Visit purpose, clearance request. Time, 2:13 a.m. Infant wing access, granted. John Thompson. My uncle. The same night Leah disappeared. My stomach turned. I had to find him. With the help of Daniel's cousin, who worked in real estate, we traced my uncle to an abandoned property on the edge of a nearby town. It was a run-down farmhouse, overgrown with weeds. Windows broken. Fences falling apart. But something told me he'd still be there. We went during daylight. I didn't want to take any chances. Daniel stayed in the car while I approached the house. I knocked on the door. No answer. Then I tried the side door. It creaked open. The smell of rot hit me like a wave. Inside, piles of old newspapers were stacked everywhere. Dust covered the furniture. But someone had been living there. There were food cans, a mattress, cigarette butts. Then I saw him. My uncle. Sitting in a corner chair, frail and thin, his hands shaking as he lit a cigarette. John Thompson. I asked. He looked up. His eyes were sunken. Who wants to know? I'm Lena, I said. Helen's daughter. You're my uncle. He flinched. I held up the hospital record. You visited the infant wing the night I was born. Why? He stared at me, then laughed bitterly. They paid me, he muttered. My blood ran cold. Who paid you? The Morgans, he whispered. Rich people. No kids. The wife. Cynthia. She wanted a baby. Told me to make sure Helen only went home with one. You stole my sister, I said in horror. He looked away. They said they'd raise her well. That they'd give her everything. I needed the money. I had debts. I didn't think. You didn't think it would ruin her life. I screamed. She was abused, starved, locked in rooms. He held his head in his hands. I didn't know, he cried. I didn't know. Suddenly, I felt something slam into the back of my head. Darkness swallowed me. When I opened my eyes, I was underground. No light, just dirt. Dirt in my mouth, in my nose. My body was bound, my arms tied behind me. I screamed. Nothing. I realized what had happened. Someone had buried me alive. I clawed at the wood. Dirt fell in through cracks. No. I won't die like this. I won't. I pushed, scratched, screamed. Somehow, miraculously, someone heard me. A voice. Muffled. Then hands. Pulling me out. Daniel. He wrapped me in a blanket, crying. Oh God, I thought I lost you. How did you even get here? My voice cracked. She followed me. She was there. Who? Leah. I survived. But I wasn't the same. After being buried alive by someone who shared my face, I knew there was no turning back. This wasn't just about truth anymore. This was war. Daniel held my hand as we gave a full statement to the police. My uncle was arrested on the spot. He confessed to his part in Leah's abduction. He even showed them old wire transfers from the Morgans. His guilt was clear. But Leah, she vanished. No one knew where she went. Her phone was off. She stopped answering messages. Her apartment, rented under a fake name, was empty. I felt like I was being haunted by a ghost with my face. But I wasn't done. That week, my mom invited me for dinner. I didn't want to go at first, but she begged. She's coming, my mom said. Leah. I froze. You invited her. She reached out. Said she wants to talk. Said she's sorry. I didn't trust it. But I needed closure. Dinner was quiet at first. Tense. My mom made roast chicken, mashed potatoes, our family favorite. The table was set beautifully. Candles lit. It could have been warm. It could have been healing. But Leah's presence was like a shadow over the whole room. She wore a red dress. My dress. She smiled gently. You look good, Lena. You tried to bury me alive, I replied. My mother gasped. Leah looked down. I didn't mean to. Stop lying. I snapped. You drugged me. You took my life. You wanted to become me. I just wanted to feel what it was like, she shouted suddenly. To be loved. To be chosen. Do you know what it's like to be tossed away like garbage? I didn't toss you away, I cried. Neither did Mom. You were stolen. We were both victims. She shook her head. You got the better deal. I got the broken bones. The night terrors. The years of silence. But you became the very thing that hurt you, I said. You turned into your abusers. She broke. Right there at the dinner table. Leah sobbed. I'm sorry, she whispered. I just didn't know how to stop being angry. My mother walked over and wrapped her arms around Leah. You were never forgotten, Mom said through tears. You were always loved. Even when I thought you were gone, I prayed for you every night. Leah collapsed into her arms. For the first time, I saw her not as a threat, but as a girl still trying to find her place in the world. Daniel, who had been quietly filming from the corner of the room, just in case Leah turned violent, stopped recording. The moment didn't need protection. It needed grace. A week later, the police arrested Cynthia and Reed Morgan in another state. They were living under fake identities. Evidence of child trafficking and falsified adoption documents were found in their home. Justice had finally begun. Months passed. Leah didn't go to prison. Her lawyer pushed for mental health rehabilitation and therapy instead, using her traumatic past as evidence. The court agreed. She was placed in a secure mental health facility. I visited her once. She was calmer, quieter, softer. "I'm sorry again," she said. "For everything." "I know," I said. "I forgive you. But you need to forgive yourself too." She looked down. "That'll take time." "I'll wait," I said. She smiled. "I wanted to ask you something," she said before I left. "Do you think there's a version of this life where we could have grown up together? Shared birthdays, clothes, secrets." "I think about that every day," I whispered. "But we still can," I added. "It just starts late." 6 months later, I launched a foundation, the Leah Foundation. It helps survivors of child trafficking and children lost in the foster system. We give them a voice. We help them reclaim their stories. The first donor was my mother. The first speaker, Leah, after her release. She stood on stage, nervous, holding a microphone. "I thought my life was a mistake," she told the crowd. "But I learned that even the most broken stories can lead to powerful beginnings." She looked at me from the stage. And for the first time, her smile was real. If this story gave you chills, touched your heart, or left you speechless, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. What would you do if someone from your past showed up claiming your life as theirs? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And remember, sometimes, the scariest person in the world is the one who knows your name, your face, and your secrets. See you in the next story.